I'm waking up my day. Let's get it started. Turn it up, turn it on. Keep the morning moving right along. Yeah, I'm waking up my day.
Good morning. I'm Adria Goins. It is 6 o'clock. We are live in Shreveport at the Thomas House for our Waking Up My Day newscast. Of course, we started this newscast because we wanted to find out how we could help you and other families across the Arklatex. We know you've got a lot of concerns. So we decided to start this new newscast, and we are live this morning for the next hour inside the Thomas House. We're going to introduce you to Patrice, who is in there making breakfast and lunch here in just a second. But also, we're going to tell you a little bit about what are some of their concerns. You know, some of the things that they are concerned about are their finances. Safety, obviously, is very important to them as well, making sure that they are safe in their neighborhood. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about Braylon's health. Her son was diagnosed with autism when he was young, and we're going to talk a little bit about how she manages that. I got a chance to speak with her about a recent break-in that forced her to make a big decision to relocate her family. You said you were standing right out here.
Mm-hmm. Patrice Thomas took me back to the place where she says she fell victim to a break-in. Thomas moved into the Willow Trace Apartments off Pines Road in the spring with hopes of a new start for her family. But shortly after moving in, she walked out of her apartment to deliver food to a friend in the parking lot, and she had no idea she was being targeted. Her young son alone inside their apartment when someone barged in.
I was just sitting in the room watching TV, and once I heard someone turn the doorknob and running into the room, I just freaked out and I stared up like I was scared. I froze.
My son walked out and he just stood there while we were standing here, and he just stopped. And he had this look of astonishment that I had never seen before. And he was like, someone just broke in. And I was like, what do you mean? You know, he was like, a guy just came in and stole your purse. And I couldn't believe it.
How long did you live here?
I moved in March, got right out in June.
Really?
Yep, wasn't here long at all.
Okay.
Yep.
And you never felt comfortable from pretty much day one?
No. And I couldn't leave my son here. I couldn't, you know. Like I said, I never knew what that person may try to do.
Thomas says someone attempted to break in yet again just days later. She filed a police report both times, documenting the precious items taken from her purse.
Pictures of my grandmother, blood pressure medicine, everything. I'm a mother. You know, my son's social security cards, insurance cards. It was hard to replace that.
Thomas says she knew then that she had to find a safer place to live, not just for her, but her kids. And that meant paying more for rent while barely scraping by.
It is a big difference in pay. Everything's gone up, about almost a $500 increase. There's a lot of things that we have to go without, a lot of things I can't do. You know, I promised them that we would, go on trips and, things like that. We couldn't do that. We've had to go without a lot, including air in the car. These are things, that we just have to sacrifice. And I tell them all the time, just bear with me. Things will get better. Being a mother doesn't stop. It never stops. When you're sleeping, it doesn't stop because you have to protect your home.
Live from Southern University in Shreveport, this is the 2018 Mayoral Forum on KSLA News 12.
And welcome back to a special edition of KSLA News 12 at 6. This is the 2018 Shreveport Mayoral Forum presented by the Shreveport Chamber of Commerce along with KSLA News 12. You are watching it live on air right now here on KSLA News 12 and for the next full hour on the KSLA News 12 mobile app.
KSLA News 12 starts with breaking news.
That breaking news we've been following for the last 15 minutes or so. Miranda Whittington is live at the scene where First Bossier Church in Bossier City is on fire, on scene of a massive fire out there, engulfing it. We could see it from the skyline. Let's get right out to Miranda. Miranda, tell us exactly what you can see and what's going on out there.
Good morning. Well, I'm going to move behind the camera and kind of show you guys what we're seeing. Firefighters, so there's plenty of firefighters out here that are still working this blaze right now. Now it's still, you can kind of see right here, they are battling towards the back of the church. There's another Shreveport fire that just arrived on the scene.
This is the First Bossier Church. It's right here. It's right next to Pierre Bossier Mall. Again, if you are coming off of 20, which you can kind of see here, this is where we were starting to, a lot of drivers were calling, noticing a lot of just that orange glow, a lot of the smoke coming. So we're continuing to follow this massive fire from First Bossier Church in Bossier City this morning. Multiple agencies on scene. You can see those flames right there. This is a live look from the scene and a live look from our DOTD cameras where drivers are seeing the flames and the smoke as the sun is coming up on their commute. This is I-20 heading westbound. You can see the massive flames. At one point, it looked like firefighters had control about maybe 10 minutes ago, and then it just erupted back into flames. And Christian, I want to point out, you know, we said the church is so close to the municipal complex over there. In that municipal complex is actually the headquarters for the fire department. So that shows you just how quickly this fire grew and spread out of control this morning. It erupted just before 6:30 this morning. Is that right, Christian?
Yeah, Marie, probably a little bit before then, probably around 6:20ish. We've been following this fire for you. Our Miranda Whittington is on scene right now working to gather information. We will continue to have live reports throughout the morning and throughout the day on this fire here on KSLA News 12.
On Facebook, and again, we will be back with a live report from the scene at 7:15 this morning. We'll bring you the very latest as soon as we learn more.
Stream KSLA News 12 starts with breaking news.
That breaking news coming out of Shreveport has a massive police presence. I'm going to start off with Jeff Farrell right now. Jeff, what do you know from where you are?
If anybody's been watching so far, especially on Facebook, they'll know that we're in a different spot than we were just 15 minutes ago. We started about 2 blocks that way. Then, after police moved us once, we were 2 blocks away. Now we are 3 blocks away as they worry more and more about potential shots being fired. Now, we have from several sources now telling us that shots were fired at about 11 a.m. or so, and that's when the first calls came in of those overall 40 units.
Josh Robertson also live near that area right now, and he is standing by live. Josh, what do you know and where are you?
Well, guys, we're right here right now on the corner of St. Vincent Avenue and Lash Street with a lot of activity going on behind us. The fire department just sped down this road with an EMS unit as well. And I'm joined right now. I've got Corporal Marcus Hines with Shreveport Police, and he's just going to kind of talk. There's a lot of people here listening. Give us a little bit of information. Marcus, go ahead.
Well, what I can tell you right now, Shreveport Police did respond to a call just after 1 o'clock p.m. regarding right before 11 o'clock a.m. about a man who was firing shots in the 1300 block of Camille Street. Now, when officers arrived on scene, reports of additional shots being fired were received. We do not know at this point if there's any additional persons inside the home where the shots were fired. We did get reports of someone inside the home screaming. Police do have contact with the man who we've identified inside the home. We cannot pass along that name right now.
Jeff Farrell again standing by. He's been moved back a couple times from closer to that scene. Jeff, any updates?
Now, from what we understand from people right around this area and from ones running past us to get by, that at least 2 gunshots have gone off within the last 3.5 minutes.
Let's head live back out to Caddo Heights. Jeff, what's happened since then?
Well, first of all, within the last 10 minutes, we may have told, viewers may remember that we saw or heard several shots from the scene. Then we saw probably a dozen, maybe more people running right past us. There was a lot of traffic here as well, congestion. It was a real panic scene. In the age of communication, I got 2 cell phones and a headset, and it's still tenuous enough that you can imagine how we're just trying to juggle a lot of things.
Disturbing video has surfaced on social media from what is believed to be coming from inside the home there on Natalie Street where this all took place. A friend of the victim shared that video with us. I must warn you here, the video is graphic and unsettling. KSLA News 12's Marie Waxel explains.
This video captures the sheer terror in the moments leading up to the shooting. Early in the video, you can hear another man's voice, only for a brief moment. The woman here identifies herself as Nunu and is being ordered to apologize by a man believed to be the suspected shooter, Jonathan Robinson.
Hey, y'all. This Nunu. I apologize for going live on Rika. I ain't had no business doing all that. My page been blocked, so that's why I'm going live. Yes, I know I was wrong. I ain't have no business going off like that, but...
See right there. See right there. Everybody want to be famous. I'm going to make you famous.
Yes.
What?
I am sorry, y'all.
In the video shared through Facebook Live in real time, you can see the fear in the woman's eyes as she apologizes. A man believed to be Robinson paces behind her, yelling profanities.
No.
You want to be famous? I'm going to make you famous.
No.
No. Everybody want to be famous, let's be famous today.
Okay.
Huh?
The gunman then begins to yell at police outside the home, and that's where we're going to stop the video. It's too horrifying to show the rest. Seconds later, the man starts shooting. The woman begs him to stop. She's no longer on the camera, and the phone then drops to the floor, and you no longer hear her. We're now waiting on police to positively ID the gunman, and the woman only identified as Nunu in this video.
In the wake of the horror and the heartache of April 12, 2018, the day Renita Williams, a mother of 3 small children, was shot and killed, her murder streamed live on Facebook. A portrait of her suspected killer, Jonathan Robinson, quickly emerged. According to court records, he's a violent felon who served more than 10 years in prison for aggravated battery and robbery. But as I examined his rap sheet, a criminal history spanning 19 years, one case stood out. On the last day of July 2014 in the Allendale neighborhood of Shreveport, narcotics officers set their sights on this house after getting tips from neighbors that Jonathan Robinson and his brother were allegedly selling drugs here. According to an investigative report, the Robinson brothers and another man were sitting on this porch when officers arrived. A quick search of the area turned up drugs, cash, and a gun. And all 3 men were arrested for possession with intent to distribute crack cocaine. For his part in the alleged crime, Robinson faced a minimum of 5 years hard labor if convicted, but it turns out he never faced that drug charge in court. Wanting to know why, I filed a public records request with the district attorney's office. Reviewing the criminal file, I discovered a legal fight over $3,000 froze the case for nearly 2 years, with prosecutors finally dismissing the charges in 2017 without explanation.
Criminal cases generally shouldn't last that long.
Jay Florence is a criminal lawyer hired to represent the man arrested alongside the Robinson brothers. Looking back, Florence says the case never got on a normal track.
It was a case that could have and should have ended, again, this is just my judgment, no more than 6 months.
Because the court appointed a corporate lawyer to defend Robinson, not a criminal attorney. Something, he says, happened a lot back in 2014 because the Caddo Parish Public Defender's Office was going broke. Facing too many cases and not enough cash, Florence says courts started assigning lawyers with no criminal experience to represent defendants for free, which he says became a big problem.
To say the person's not qualified, it's not a disrespect to them, it's just the reality. It's not what they do.
Because some civil attorneys who didn't want to defend criminal clients found ways to get out of unwanted assignments, like filing motions to delay the cases.
So a lot of the civil lawyers, they did come in and filed all kinds of motions, attempting to go all the way to the Supreme Court to, again, delay, to make the point that, hey, we're not qualified, you need to take us off these cases.
In the Robinson drug case, I found one motion that brought everything to a standstill for almost 2 years. You see, the court-appointed corporate lawyer wanted $3,000 to initiate an investigation, but when both the local and state public defender's offices said they didn't have the funds, Robinson's lawyer filed a motion to stay the case.
Which basically means everything is frozen. My client and I objected because our argument was, hey, we're ready to proceed. We're ready to go forward. We're ready to try this case to prove that my client is innocent. but we had to wait.
Starting with the trial court, then the Court of Appeal here in Shreveport, Robinson's attorney took the battle for $3,000 all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, losing each time.
This is a tornado warning alert from KSLA News 12.
Hey again, everyone. Continue to keep you updated on storms that are now moving into the Shreveport-Bossier City metro. National Weather Service is indicating that they're probably going to issue another tornado warning because the storm that's coming on in, passing right over their office there at the airport. That's also where the radar is located. Here's Arthur Ray Teague Parkway, and the red line here, that is I-20 heading into Bossier City. So again, seeing some circulation here. Again, here's Benton Road. You head up towards Shed Road, Texas Street. If you know that part of Bossier City, approaching Airline Drive right now. Old Minden Road, the Airline Drive exit here in Bossier City. What camera is this? Okay, this is Old Minden Road. Definitely there's a lot of wind. There's something, I don't know if we just lost a shot, but you saw how shaky that camera was. So again, this could be a possible tornado, again, near the I-20 area, I-20 and Lakeshore. I-20 and Lakeshore. That billboard obviously damaged by some strong wind and a possible tornado. We're still doing active rescues there in the Hillcrest Mobile Home Park there in the Houghton area. Doug.
Hey, a little bit of an update for you. We can kind of walk you up to the edge of the tape. Obviously, this is, we've learned a lot more activity still going on here as we've been reporting. It's about at the bottom of that hill, I'd say. As you can see, a row of kind of mobile homes. These are RV-type fifth wheels on the left side, about 6 of them or 7 of them down. That last one back against that tree line is the one that took a tree right on top of that home and cut that home in half. In fact, you hear chainsaws going on right now because a short time ago I asked, hey, is the emergency here over? Meaning, we know there's a possible death out here, and I had 2 deputies tell me, no, it's not. It is still ongoing. I said, rescues? They said yes. They both nodded their head.
Authorities today have now identified the 20-month-old girl killed when a tree crushed her RV last night after severe storms ripped through the area. She's been identified as Carly Ortiz. KSLA spoke with the neighbors about Carly. They say she was fun-loving and a people person. Family friends say her parents remain heartbroken and in a state of disbelief. One neighbor describes those horrifying moments after the tree collapsed.
We knew that it was a kid. We knew it was the baby. And he was screaming and yelling, and my husband couldn't get to them. We couldn't get inside because it was just blocked. So we just got in the car and we drove up there where it was safer and there was no trees.
This is a winter weather alert on KSLA News 12.
It is windy and cold and snowing across the Arklatex. Winter has come down in the area. All night long, we have been getting reports of school closures and road closures. Parts of the area are covered in snow, and it is still falling this morning.
Well, they do, Shane, and that's largely because of the wind that's still coming, the freezing temperatures, and it's turned those roads into kind of a packed, almost icy slush area. I shouldn't say slush anymore because that's all frozen up. Now, we're not getting a lot of reports of accidents, nothing serious, but cars sliding off the roads. We do know that the plows and the salt trucks are out, but there's so much road for them to cover. They simply couldn't keep up with the snow when it was falling the past couple of hours. When we were on our way here, we found a semi-truck driver coming from Houston, traveling to Memphis. His partner called him and said, you just need to get off the road. He tried getting off the road, but take a listen to what happened.
You know, the truck's slippery and everything. I'm glad I just made it up here, you know. And so my partner's there at the hotel. He told me to pull in here, but once I got here, I couldn't get up no more.
Well, that's how it's been going for a good stretch of the morning for those semi-trucks. There's one right here behind us. We've been out here for about 2.5, almost 3 hours. He just pulled it over real early, just too treacherous of conditions. And that truck driver told us he's a professional driver. That semi, that big rig is pretty heavy, gives him a little bit more traction, but even he wasn't making it well. Imagine if you're a car without four-wheel drive trying to get to work this morning. Reporting live in Texarkana, I'm Stacey Cameron. Back to you.
Schools in Texarkana are closed this morning. All schools
schools in Caddo, Bossier, DeSoto, Webster, Natchitoches, and Claiborne parishes, they are closed today as well. Several other parishes have some closures, and we have posted every single one of those school closures right here, as you can see on our KSLA News 12 website. It has the entire list of every school closure across the entire Arklatex.
New at 10, signed, sealed, and delivered this afternoon. Louisiana Governor John Bel Edwards put his signature to House Bill 896. It's a tough new domestic violence law that many say will save lives here in Louisiana. You may recall the push to pass that legislation came following a series of KSLA investigative reports. Back in the fall, Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron exposed a loophole in Louisiana law. The loophole freed some serial domestic abusers from prison early. The reason? People convicted of domestic abuse weren't considered violent criminals unless they burned their victims. Now, thanks to bipartisan cooperation in the State House and Senate, that loophole is now a thing of the past. Now, anyone convicted of seriously injuring a loved one or domestic partner will serve serious prison time. That felony cannot be expunged from their record, and strict probation requirements will now be placed on these abusers after getting out.
The police never bothered to contact me. Never contacted.
My only son. He was my role model. He really was.
People have gone to prison. 3 murder convictions, 5 for manslaughter, 9 cases have been dismissed because this case had been stayed and floating around in our court system for so long. It was just easier for the prosecutor at this time to dismiss the case and be done with it.
Why take those cases to the grand jury if you're not confident in the evidence that's been presented?
The people watching this tonight that live in these communities, these neighborhoods that are seeing violence, what do they need to know? What can they do to help change this? On May 3rd, 2018, Josh was shot and killed behind this home on Vine Street in Shreveport. According to police reports, witnesses heard 2 men arguing before the sound of gunshots. The first officer arriving on the scene found Josh lying on the ground, not breathing, shot 4 times in his chest, shoulder, and right hand.
We were just in shock.
Shortly after Evelyn got word of Josh's death at her home in South Louisiana, Shreveport police took this man, Herman Woods, into custody. Witnesses saw the 50-year-old homeless man leaving the deadly scene in a hurry. During an interview inside City Jail, Woods admitted shooting Josh, but claimed Josh charged him with a metal stick, according to police reports. But 3 months after his arrest, the case against Woods got dismissed.
A man suspected of killing your son is arrested, but you learn he's not going to be prosecuted for murder. What goes through your mind at that?
Anger.
It was simply charge him with the least thing that we could and push this away. We don't want to deal with a mentally ill patient in our jail or in the court.
Then, taking a trip to Government Plaza, checking city records, I discovered Go Eat is a properly licensed food truck business with Collier listed as owner. But a closer look at the sex offender registry raised 2 red flags. Collier's registration did not list a work address or any vehicles, despite owning a food trailer. So I called the sheriff's office to see if that broke the law.
We rely on tips a lot.
That's Lieutenant Greg Wingett. He oversees the cattle sex offender registry from his office at the parish jail. Wingett says after my call, deputies opened an investigation, and a short time later,
within probably 2 to 3 hours of getting the tip, we were making an arrest.
I was outside Collier's Southern Hills home in Shreveport, filming deputies taking him away in cuffs.
Mr. Collier is now facing a failure to register charges.
Do you have any comment, Mr. Collier?
After speaking with Katie, I went to NPD headquarters to ask about the investigation.
The victim's name was DeAndre Moss.
And why there's been no arrest. Told the chief of police and case detective weren't in. I tried making an appointment for the next day.
Okay, well, can you leave a note with him? Let him know I'll be here at 9:30 in the morning to come talk to him. Okay.
Hold on. On my drive down to Natchitoches the following morning, Chief Mickey Dove called. He told me he wasn't going to talk about the investigation, and he also said he had no idea if the young lady driving the car that killed DeAndre Moss was related to a Natchitoches Parish Sheriff's detective.
Salutes Army Staff Sergeant Leo Husak.
John Husak remembers vividly the day the Army reported his brother missing.
We had come back from school, and the family had just received the telegram that he was missing in action. So when we got home, it wasn't a happy situation. Both my mother and father were crying.
That was February 1945. 9 months later, the Army declared him killed in action.
And that was like reliving it all over again. I mean, finality.
As the years went on, John and another brother submitted DNA samples to the U.S. Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency, hoping to one day bring their brother's remains home where they belong.
The family did have a memorial service for him in the church, and we kind of thought, well, that put closure on it, but there was still this opening, he's not here.
For nearly 3/4 of a century, an unidentified body laid at rest in a Netherlands cemetery.
And they gave him a number, 1034.
With the help of dental records and other forensic tests, including a 99% match in DNA, 1034 is now Army Staff Sergeant Leo Husak.
At first, I thought, this is some sort of a hoax. Somebody is going to ask me for money.
It wasn't until Army officials presented Husak's family with their findings, including information on his brother's final battle, did he truly believe.
It's unbelievable, really.
You see, what the Army didn't know is that Leo made a pact with a fellow soldier before he died, promising one another they'd visit their families if one of them didn't make it. The story of Leo's death, shared by Army officials, nearly identical to the one John Husak tells me he heard years ago.
He was on a scouting patrol, and about 9 o'clock at night, and he came around a snowbank with 5 other people, and as soon as he showed his head, he was hit, and they say he was killed instantly.
Staff Sergeant Husak died in Germany's Hürtgen Forest during the longest single battle the U.S. Army has ever fought.
He was killed 30th of January, 1945.
Just 21 years old.
My mother would always say that she wished that they could find him and bring him home. He's coming home. We hope that, as sad as it's going to be, and it is, it will put closure to it, and we'll have the body remains in the family plot.
The missing link to the Husak's military heritage.
My father was in World War I. Leo was in II. I served during the Korean Vietnam era. Our son, John, retired from the Air Force also. Now, he served during the Desert Storm era. And our only grandson is presently in the ROTC program at the University of Texas at Arlington, and he hopes to fly with the Air Force.
And a message of hope to those still searching.
Don't give up. The Army is working, and they are going to bring everyone home that they possibly can.
And tonight we continue our efforts of taking back our streets. My co-anchor Dominique Bent sits down with a Shreveport-bred athlete who now is on the pro level, who still has strong ties to his hometown of Shreveport. Dom.
Well, Doug, success didn't happen overnight for Shreveport native and Buffalo Bills rookie player Tre'Davious White. He worked hard to graduate as valedictorian of his high school class with a GPA of 4.3. Tre'Davious grew up in the Cooper Road area, one of Shreveport's toughest neighborhoods. However, he found an outlet, playing sports, and he was good at it. But crime wasn't far from where he lived. In fact, he says it is something he experienced firsthand, but he managed to dodge the trouble. Tonight, T. White talks about the latest violence in our city and why he isn't giving up on his hometown.
Green Oaks football standout Tre'Davious White made giant moves on the football field and later shined as an All-American at LSU. Finally, a dream come true.
The Buffalo Bills select Tre'Davious White
when he was drafted to play for the Buffalo Bills. Tre'Davious grew up in the tough Cooper Road area. He was the kid who made it out.
I want to find something to keep me out of the streets, keep me out of the way of, harm. So I resorted to playing sports, started out playing basketball, and then it just gradually went to football, and I was doing both.
Tre'Davious focused on his grades and sports. He said his mentor, Mo Claiborne, had the blueprint for success. Claiborne, also a former LSU Tiger standout and current NFL player, mapped it all out for Tre'Davious to follow.
At the age of like 6 or 7, he took me under his wings because he was the best player, best athlete in the city. That's the only person that I strive to be like on and off the court or on the field.
Off the field, his neighborhood was saturated with violence, some of it hitting close to home.
I've experienced firsthand, and I've had plenty of my great uncles die of gun violence for being in, violence and being in gangs and stuff like that. So I know firsthand how that tragedy of, a murder, can be, because I experienced it at a young age, just dealing with it growing up. And that sort of scared me, and it just made me want more, because I'm scared to lose my life.
Another year brings new statistics for the area, sadly the same: murder and destruction.
I don't know. I mean, what's the mindset of a 14, 15-year-old kid having a gun? Like, what is
So how
what's
do
the
you
motive?
reach them? How do you reach a 14 or 15-year-old?
The way that I'm raised is never too late. I feel like, it's all it takes is a reality check, or it takes just, it takes time. I mean, you got to be patient, but like you said, it's happening over and over. But I feel like, only thing we can do is just continue to just spread positivity and continue to just pray and just continue to, try to educate the younger and the older on, the violence and the toll that it's taking on families around the whole area. And that's all we can pretty much do.
Tre'Davious is hoping his story inspires others. They too can come from Cooper Road and soar.
Everybody don't have the same path. Just because you see me, in college and playing football, I mean, that's not your calling. Maybe God's calling you to do something else, and it's going to be probably an even bigger blessing, but you may never know if you got to stay disciplined. And I feel like, if I continue to feed that positivity to people, they'll start to believe in their mind, and when they start to believe, they'll start taking the initiative to do better.
For a guy that makes a living trying to take the ball away, he has a heart for giving back.
My ultimate goal is not going to be about football and being the best athlete. It's going to be about being a better person and being, a better citizen, and trying to reach them at a young age, like you said, about the violence, and just trying to teach them the ways of life and just how to be a better person and doing great things, because great things will come back to you.
And that's how you take back our streets.
Most definitely.
Okay.
For many of these teenagers in uniform, cheering on the fans, or fighting for yards on the football field, it's about creating the kind of memories that last a lifetime.
When you look back, you say those are supposed to be the best times of your life.
Let's go. Guiding many of those memories is Houghton head football coach Jason Brotherton.
I always say I've got 2 of my own kids and about 140 other kids that are mine on the football team.
We get the ball back, we gotta go, okay?
Calls made on the field Friday night helped lead his extended family to a convincing homecoming victory. But it's the call he and fellow coaches made before the season ever started. It's creating memories for a group of Houghton students, generally not on most schools' game day schedules. Right up there with honoring the homecoming court and the player of the game.
Quarterback Peyton Stover.
A name is about to be called. It's a surprise to every student in the gym.
You try to create something for them to have that just great high school experience. Diane Calhoun. Isabella Frisk. Ivy Myers. Logan Gannon. I love those kids. Come on up, Logan.
At every pep rally during the football season, the coaches created a way to honor deserving students, not because of some amazing accomplishment on the football field, but just because. because of who they are, the heroes of Houghton High.
Get your folder out, Ben. Look at that face.
It's Robin Iman's honor to teach many of these heroes every day.
They have a special place in my heart, and most of the people around here just embrace them.
You need water.
And proud that the coaches found a way to make them feel just as important as everyone else in uniform at the pep rallies.
Some of these kids would like to have been part of a team like that, and because of their other limitations, they're just not able to, but they get to feel like they're a part of that.
We do have some awards we want to give out to a couple of our heroes of the week. We got some kids that have really been working hard.
But for that one moment in time,
Owen Myers. You know, the first time, and we didn't know what to expect, the first one we had, and you know, it's standing ovation in the whole gym. Every student we have standing up.
And from that first moment on, it's been pretty spot on. Grown-up reaction from a generation many are quick to doubt.
With all the bad things going on in society, it shows you what's still good about the society we live in and about high school kids.
One of the biggest reactions to date.
Matthew Martin.
I got my Hero of the Week title on September the 21st, and it was spectacular!
How do you not love this guy?
I ran up there and Coach Wash lifted me up. It means a lot to me. I feel like it is the greatest Martin LaValle treasure I can ever imagine. Almost as much as the cool buffalo nickel I found.
And it meant as much as 10 buffalo nickels.
Hey, we be right there.
To the one-time rough and tough assistant football coach, Kyle Washington.
And then all of a sudden, I met these kids and they came in my life. They made a difference. I am such a softer soul now.
And this past homecoming Friday, delivered the cheers once again.
Logan Gandy.
That standing O for Logan Gandy, who nearly came out of his shoes. Promptly gave an impromptu right back at you.
It really, really boosts their self-esteem and makes them stand a little taller.
Just smile.
Coach Washington did his best to loosen up young Caitlin.
You know, this girl's been through some tough days and has worked hard and done well.
As Coach Brotherton delivered to her some of the best news she's heard all year.
Caitlin Howard.
Caitlin lost her mother just months ago.
She's been down, but she's very happy now, and I am too. Thank y'all so much.
I'm a Spider-Man.
Then there's this cool dude named Paul.
Flies into a tea-praying flower.
He talks the talk in class,
Hey!
frankly, everywhere he goes.
And everybody knows Paul. Everybody loves Paul.
And he walks the walk, with the footwork to show it. There's not a bit of this high school experience Paul hasn't embraced that hasn't embraced him right back.
You know him, you love him. Paul Marshall Jr.
There was no sprint, no hauling butt across the gym floor. But that ear-to-ear smile told us everything we needed to know.
I don't think there's anybody in there that wouldn't get emotional to watch it.
It's really a blessing to be around them, to watch that and to experience that and get them to make you see life in a different way.
And Robin's calling to this awesome kind of classroom first won over her heart some 16 years ago.
A young lady that brightens my day every morning when I get to see her in the hallway, Michaela Iman.
Her daughter Michaela is one of Houghton's awesome heroes, too.
Ever since she was born, the community has embraced her, but I never have to worry about my daughter. I never have to worry about my students.
Students that truly get it, the joy of life, its happiness, its innocence, especially on those Fridays inside the gym, total inclusion.
I love it. I love Houghton.
From every member of the Houghton High School family.
What's up? I saw you, Bob.
I feel bad for those that don't get it, because those that do get to really experience something that the world needs.
Matthew missed his calling as a cheerleader. Clearly, that kid is awesome.
New chief of the Shreveport Police Department, Chief Alan Crump.
I, Alan Crump.
It is not one man's job. He has a whole department behind him.
And as he did that, as he began to make that turn, I fired.
In the districts that are having this crime issue, are more understanding of why we need a new direction.
I supported the mayor 100% on that and his confirmation. During that time, I've just lost that confidence that I had that first day.
In 2 short years, Shreveport Police Chief Alan Crump has faced scrutiny over what many believe to be rising violent crime across the city, over an officer-involved shooting where he pulled the trigger while chasing a suspect, and repeated calls for his resignation by some council members and mayoral candidates. Tonight, a decision is made.
And news of his retirement comes just hours after a shocking double homicide in the city. A husband and wife were found murdered in their car in Shreveport shortly after giving a ride to a man asking for help outside of Mall St. Vincent.
The very latest in the search for that murder suspect in moments. But first, let's detail what happened today and perhaps why it happened, leading up to the mayor's office announcing Crump's sudden retirement in less than a week. KSLA News 12 Chief Investigative Reporter Stacey Cameron piecing it all together for us tonight, and that includes a one-on-one interview with the mayor. Stacey.
Yeah, Doug, the mayor said she and Alan Crump, the police chief, had discussions in recent days about the possibility he might retire, but his sudden decision today, which she got by a phone call, came as a complete surprise. Now, she told me during a weekly meeting here at SPD headquarters when Chief Crump meets with his top brass, he told his assistant chiefs, captains, and lieutenants that he was going to retire. That retirement effective the 15th of this month. He then called the mayor to inform her. You spoke earlier about the fact that there has been perception that Chief Crump had difficulty, controversy in handling rising homicide rates here, and that some of the mayoral candidates had called for his resignation, even members of city council. I asked her, did that play a role in it, and she said she believed it did. I also asked her whether last night's violent homicide played a role as well. She said they didn't discuss that, but the mayor, in a one-on-one interview with me, did say that perceptions of the chief having difficulty dealing with this violent crime that we've seen played a role. Let's listen to that right now.
He was struggling with the fact that the perception was out there, that he, was not the person that should be leading the Shreveport Police Department. You know, when you hear it a lot from people, then, you do think about it.
Do you think he was a political weight at this point?
I don't. I really don't. I know the perception was out there. That the perception was out there. He knew it was out there because we were hearing it every week. All of us were.
Now, Mayor Tyler did tell me that her support for Chief Crump was unwavering the entire 2 years. She still supported him now, but she did not try to convince him to change his mind and stay on. She said she has no idea right now who she's going to appoint as interim chief because simply she was surprised by his sudden retirement. However, next week she will look to start putting together a list of potential candidates to replace him. In the interim, her deputy chief will take over that role for now. We'll have more about this developing story still as the newscast continues. Back to you, Doug and Dom, live in the studio.
All right, Stacey, thanks. Shreveport mayoral candidate Adrian Perkins reacts to the chief's announcement. He issued a statement to us saying this clears the way for my administration to come in and start with new leadership at the police department. I would like to thank Chief Crump for his service to our city.
All right, let's take a closer look at Crump's time with Shreveport PD. He started his career with the department in 1992, became interim chief in July of 2016, and was later named the permanent chief. He was among 19 applicants for that position, but scored the second lowest among all applicants on the civil service exam.
And you may remember Chief Crump faced controversy as he was put on paid leave in October of last year. After he was involved in an officer-involved shooting incident, he was cleared of any wrongdoing. Councilman Willie Bradford then filed a resolution to seek a vote of no confidence in November of last year, and that resolution was voted down. And now today, he announced he plans to retire.
And Councilman Jerry Bowman in studio with us right now. You joined us in studio previously with Mr. Bradford, and we discussed this very issue about the future of the police department. First of all, thanks for coming in. Just your immediate thoughts, City Council member, what you're hearing today about the chief's sudden announcement that he's retiring.
Well, I first got the news. I got a couple of phone calls and a few texts, and it was said that, you know, the chief is retiring. So how do you feel about that? And, you know, I was like, well, I didn't know. And they told me that the mayor also did not know. And that just sounds a little odd to me that, you know, the top cop does not relay that message to the mayor. I don't know.
Right, and I think that it came as a surprise to everyone. A lot of people want to say that this may be her strategy as we go into the runoff, that she had to do something to show that she's probably going to be tough on crime, and a lot of people with the criticism saying that she had to get rid of the chief. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, it's been alluded to that the chief in crime has been a lot of controversy as far as her and her candidacy and her platform. So I do know that I was told that she had hired a political analyst, and that was one of the deals that he told her that it would be best in the best interest to do.
If no one realizes there's a mayor's runoff going on right now, what kind of impact do you think this will have? And speak to that timing.
Again, perception. Perception is, you know, most people's reality, and I think that going forward, now if this was a political straw for her to use, then I don't think that the public will buy into that, because this is something that they've been asking about for a long time, whether his retirement, whether him stepping down, whether we get someone new or even get some help from the sheriff department or from state police. And neither of those have happened, but just at the timing just seems kind of odd.
Do you think we should have gotten help from state police?
I absolutely do believe we should have got help from police, from the state police and from the sheriff's office. Yeah, and from city marshals also should have been involved in all of it, yes.
The future of the city, as a council member, what do you see now? Do you feel maybe perhaps more confident that changes can be put into the streets of Shreveport to do something? Because we're about to talk about a double homicide that happened last night.
Right, and my condolences to that family and the others who were also shot, the two shooters that we had also, yes. Night, yeah. So my condolences to all of them. I do believe that this will bring a good feeling or perception to our citizens, and that's what they deserve. They've been asking. I got a lot of texts from even police officers now who are saying, well, now they feel a lot better and they feel confident on getting a new chief to put them in the right direction of where they need to go.
So what was the perception, I guess, at the police department with officers working with the top cop? Was there a relationship there? Because, you know, if you don't work together, then we can't solve crime.
It was kind of divided, because some officers say, well, you know, I like Chief Crumpin. He does, you know, he does a great job as far in their eyesight. And then there are those who say that, you know, there's no communication there, there's a breakdown, and, you know, he's been a school resource officer for 15 years at Fair Park. So how did he elevate from here and go straight to the top position? So
ideally, who would the top cop look like as far as experience and credentials?
Someone who's been out on the street with them to get the knowledge of what's going on in the streets and know the areas of where these things are happening, know the community, something of that nature. Someone who's been in violent crimes for a while, who's done homicide work for a while, that type of person.
Do you plan on speaking up and perhaps talking to both Ms. Tyler as well as Mr. Perkins, since, you know, that runoff's not till December 8th, and say, hey, here's who I think should be the chief?
Yeah, well, of course.
Do you have someone in mind yourself?
I just think that we should look inside the department and also outside the department. Someone put a nationwide search out, but do not neglect what we have, great talents already in our own department.
All right. Thank you. Good to see you again, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Jerry Bowman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We were the first to break the news about Chief Crump's retirement on our KSLA News 12 app. On the app, you will find a look at his time as chief with the police department and then what happens next. We also have the full interview with Mayor Ali Tyler on our Amazon and Roku channels.
And developing right now at 6, more on the Shreveport's latest murders, a double homicide. Family tells us a husband and wife are the victims. Police tell us they were found dead inside a burning car. They had reportedly just given a ride to someone they'd picked up outside Mall St. Vincent. KSLA News 12's Jeff Farrell live at the scene. This is at the intersection of San Jacinto and Pennock Street. Jeff, Well, how are neighbors handling this violence happening so close to their front doors?
Well, Doug, as you might imagine, folks here are a bit shaken up, at least the ones that we spoke with, and understandably so when you consider this apparent double homicide right here in what is normally described as a very quiet, peaceful neighborhood. It was this carport right behind me where a vehicle was fully engulfed in flames when fire crews arrived shortly before midnight. Now, crews only discovered what's believed to be the bodies of a man and a woman inside the car once the flames were out. For soon-to-be 88-year-old Bertha Lee Greer, this street has been her home for nearly 4 decades, and she was shocked to hear about those bodies in the vehicle.
Well, just hearing you just say that is scary enough. I mean, it's nobody living there. Wasn't nobody living there, so I don't know what could have happened.
Shreveport police are also working to determine if there's any connection between the grisly discovery and a missing persons report that our newscast has been talking about a little already, filed with the department around 10:25 last night, in which a male and a female adult were reported missing by family members. It is crucial to point out that that has not actually been confirmed, but we're hearing it from so many different sources that it appears likely that that could very well be the case. We'll know for sure verification when the coroner comes out with the identities. They're having to use some scientific tools right now to make clear and distinct identifications. Police are asking, by the way, if you know anything about this case, please call them or call Crime Stoppers for Caddo Shreveport. That's 318-673-7373. Reporting live in Queensboro neighborhood of Shreveport, Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12.
Just horrible, Jeff. Thanks. Marie Waxel has reaction now with the 2 city council candidates in the runoff looking to serve the community where the bodies were found. Marie.
Well, Dominique, like others across the city, both Wendy Vance and Lavette Fuller agree crime is getting out of hand in the city, leaving some people scared in communities many have lived in for years. Here's what they would like to explore further if they win the seat up for grabs in the runoff.
Maybe with substations and a new leadership and more police officers that are paid for what they're worth, I think we can get the crime under control.
Training, best practices, equipment, pay. These are things that you have to think about for police. They deserve to have the best possible chance at stopping crime.
Both women agree new leadership in the police department is a must, and Chief Crump's retirement announcement earlier today means one of them will be working with a new police chief. Dominique.
Thanks. A grand jury indicts the mother of a baby who died from burns in Natchitoches Parish. The district attorney tells us 26-year-old Hannah Barker is indicted on first-degree murder charges. This all happened back in July when police found her 6-month-old child, Levi Ellerby, with burns not far from her home. Now, the baby was taken to a hospital where he later died. Barker's next court date is set for December 3rd. Felicia Smith also faces a first-degree murder charge in the death.
KSLA First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Well, the coldest night of the fall so far upon us in the Arklatex. We're going to see a freeze in the north, looking very likely. Southwest Arkansas, northeast Texas into southeast Oklahoma, basically right around the I-30 corridor and points northward. And to the south, down toward I-20, could be looking at a light frost out there overnight tonight and into early tomorrow morning. So do your precautions for anything outdoors. Probably a good idea to bring the pets in. And again, those outdoor plants, the ones in the pots, you can bring them in. The ones that are in the ground, probably throw a sheet or a blanket over them if you want to keep them alive a little bit longer. We're already back into the 40s here in the northern Arklatex. Idabel, the chilly spot at 43, 47 to Queen. Shreveport Bossier hanging on to 52, but the 40s will be moving in very shortly here across the metro area. Fire pit forecast, good night for it. Temperatures around 50 at 7. We're down to 48 by 9, 44 at 11 with quiet weather expected this evening. The chill is our main weather story tonight. Back in just a few moments, a cool weekend to talk about and another shot of cold air next week. We'll break it all down coming up in your forecast.
And also ahead at 6, as Jeff just mentioned, the big chill is coming. Are you prepared? Well, that person there is trying to get prepared. We'll tell you how you can stay safe ahead of the big cold. Keep it here.
KSLA First Alert Weather with Chief Meteorologist Jeff Castle.
Well, good evening again, everyone. We continue to track some cold weather coming on in over the next few days. For some of you, maybe the first time you're going to fire up the furnace. Here in this fall season, we've got the freeze warnings overnight tonight, and in some places we could be looking at some 20s here in the northern Arklatex. Freeze warnings include all of southwest Arkansas, good part of extreme northeast Texas, as well as McCurtain County and southeast Oklahoma. We're talking Mount Pleasant, Atlanta, Texas, up toward Texarkana, Magnolia, Hope, DeQueen, Arkansas, back over into McCurtain County in Oklahoma, including Idabel and Broken Bow. Now, if you're south of here, may not see temperatures get quite to 32 degrees toward the I-20 corridor and points southward, but likely cold enough, and if we get the wind to die down enough, some spotty frost is going to be a concern as well, and that'll do some damage to some of those tender plants that you may still have growing. Here's a look at your lows tonight. Again, the 20s possible. Idabel 26, 29 in Texarkana, 28 in Hope. Shreveport-Bossier, we're going 35 now. Same story down toward Mansfield, 35 in Center, Texas, 36 in Natchitoches, and 36 degrees as well in Many overnight tonight. We start off cold in the morning. It doesn't warm up significantly tomorrow afternoon. In fact, we're still in the 30s probably through at least 9 o'clock, and your afternoon temperatures may only reach the upper 40s and low 50s in most areas. We are going to have a nice Saturday in terms of sunshine, but in terms of temperatures, it is going to be a chilly day. 48 in Texarkana tomorrow and in Foreman, 49 DeKalb, 48 in Stamps, Arkansas. As we take you across East Texas, temperatures here may make the low 50s, but just barely. 51 in Carthage, 50 in Center. We'll go 49 in Marshall, 52 in Shreveport, 51 Coshada, and around 50 degrees in Minden tomorrow afternoon. Rainfall not in the forecast until the end of the weekend, and this may interfere with some of the Veterans Day activities. Now, one of the things we're going to be dealing with, very dry air, at least initially Sunday. Clouds will wake up to those. It may be the afternoon, though, before we start to get some light rain showers that form here from I-20 and point southward. This will be the beginning, though, of our next rain event, so Sunday night into Monday is looking pretty wet, and it's going to continue to be pretty chilly as well through the early going next week. Here we head into early Monday morning, tracking some spots of rain. Lunchtime on your Monday, still looking at wet weather, and where we have the colder air back in parts of Oklahoma, even on into Arkansas, they may see some snow up in that direction. At this point, I'm not expecting that we're going to get that here because the moisture will move out of the Arklatex later Monday evening and Monday night before those temperatures get cold enough around here to change over to snow. So don't worry about that at this point, but that is something that we'll keep an eye on for you. Here's that First Alert 7-day forecast. Again, a chilly day tomorrow, but probably the best day for the last weekend of the State Fair, Louisiana, from 10 a.m. until 11 p.m. tomorrow. Jacket and sunglasses throughout the daytime hours with temperatures again reaching the upper 40s to low 50s tomorrow afternoon, but it is going to be a sunny and dry day. Clouds and rain chances return Sunday night into Monday, and then by Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, another blast of cold air drops our temperatures even more. Highs in the middle of next week only in the 40s, and everyone will get a freeze by next Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, with widespread 20s expected all across the Arklatex. Closer look at those temperatures, coming up in our 6:30 half hour. The big question for me is, at what point will I break down and turn on the heat? I usually try to wait.
I almost did today.
Did you?
I almost did. Fireplace, too.
Like having those small bills. You're not running the AC anymore, so you get that smaller electric bill, but not ready for the gas bill to start going back.
You can't have it both ways.
I know. Much as I try.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Jeff. Still to come, while you may enjoy all the State Fair has to offer, others are hard at work behind the scenes making sure you have a good time. Miranda Whittington tries out working at a State Fair as a concessionaire in this week's Miranda at Work.
All right, so you've only got, count them, 3 days left to enjoy the State Fair here in Shreveport. And while many of you love the rides and all the activity, I see the helicopter rides going on too. Many of you prefer the food.
But how does all of that fried delicacy get made? And this week's Miranda at Work, KSLA's Miranda Whittington spends time with a State Fair concessionaire to learn how it gets done.
The State Fair of Louisiana. It's a place where people come to enjoy the rides, the shows, and most importantly, the food. But early in the morning when fairgoers aren't here, you'll find Gary Nelson showing me just how to be a State Fair concessionaire.
So we have one person at each window, one person cooking, one person might be dipping corn dogs as well.
Gary's been serving up your favorite fried fair foods for the last 25 years and even remembers his very first day.
In the middle of a pouring down rainstorm, I had a family come up to the window and order $85 worth of food. And they sat out back on the picnic tables behind the stand and they looked like the Simpsons devouring the food.
But while Gary has stories that can make you laugh for days, the one of how he got into this profession is quite the opposite.
I had a friend who had come down with cancer, and so I gave them my 6 weeks vacation for quite a few years until we lost him.
After that, Gary had no plans of continuing as a concessionaire, but then another friend got sick, and a few more years of working turned into 25.
A candy bar or a Twinkie.
And while he can make a lot of things, he decided to show me how to make a fair favorite, fried Oreos. First, you need Oreos.
And some toothpicks.
You don't want to eat these every day?
Not when you cook them all the time.
Gary sticks the Oreos with toothpicks for sanitary reasons, so they don't have to physically touch the Oreos.
Stick it in, and you have an Oreo on a stick.
When I tried, it didn't go that smoothly. Oh, I broke it.
It's okay.
Once the Oreos are on sticks, Gary will put them in a bucket and then place them in the fridge to cool so that it makes it easier to dip in the batter.
Stick it down in until it's all the way, pull it up, spin it around, and just set it in the oil gently.
Then the Oreos start cooking in the oil.
Just push it down so it'll roll over.
We'll flip them over and cook the other side. Then we'll get a boat and sprinkle some powdered sugar on them.
Looks yummy. And we made fried Oreos.
The same technique goes into making fried Twinkies and Snickers too.
Spin it around. There you go.
Okay,
Now
drop
stick
it down?
Drop it, set it right down in there and hook it on the hooks.
But again, I think I'll leave the concession life to Gary.
Oh, okay. See, Cody? I broke this one.
We have what you call a broken stick.
What started as a way to help a friend in need turned into a passion Gary won't stop doing just yet.
I'm going to keep doing the fairs until they say we can't take you any longer.
Miranda Whittington, KSLA News 12.
Looks like a lot of fun and looks yummy. This is Gary's 10th year working in the State Fair of Louisiana. He says once the fair wraps up Sunday, he'll make a stop in Texas, and then he'll head on back home to Wisconsin. Next at 6:30, Shreveport's top cop, Chief Alan Crump, makes a huge announcement about retirement. Stacey Cameron is live breaking it all down and what this means for the department. Stay with us.